Welcome. Welcome to a new episode of Soundblood, the International Society for Rorschach and Projective Methods podcast. Featuring exclusive interviews, the Soundblood wishes to contribute to the oral storytelling tradition by taking ISR members on a personal encounter with notable Rorschach and projective methods experts. We want our listeners to hear our guests relate stories and discussions about their research, theories, practice, and collaborative experiences that have changed their lives and the landscape of the Rorschach and projective methods field. From history to the most modern research findings, history and clinical cases that are reshaping the field, our guests will answer your questions, teach, challenge, surprise, and inspire you. For today, we are happy to speak with a special guest, Noriko Nakamura. She has many achievements in many fields. First of all, she's a psychotherapist, and she's the head of the Nakamura Psychotherapy Institute in Tokyo. She's continuing her psychotherapy practices there. She is the establisher of the Extern Japan Associate. She is still teaching and supervising Rorschach in that institute. Besides, she is the establisher and the director of the Asian Pacific Center for Therapeutic Assessment with other directors. She is also a guest lecturer in some universities. As far as she told, she has brought Rorschach to Japan and established the Japan Rorschach Society in 1993. So she has a very long journey with the Rorschach and projective methods, and I personally know her from her practices in the International Society of Rorschach's Executive Board. There, she has been the president between the years 2014 and 2021 for 7 years. And before that, she has taken many posts as vice president, members at large, and so. So today, we thank her very much for agreeing to do this podcast for the members of International Society for Rorschach and Projective Methods. So now we will be honored to listen to her, and also we will just ask her some questions that we are curious. Hello, Noriko.
Thank you, Irem. Thank you for perfect introduction about myself. long and accurate. Thank you.
And really, you have a long history with Rorschach. And also maybe for the listeners of our podcasts, it's a really a long history for us to listen. Can you tell us about your journey, starting from your connection with the Rorschach? And we always ask people about their first sight, because Rorschach is something that people fell in love at first sight mostly. So can you tell us something about your journey?
Yes. It sounds like a long journey. Sounds like I got quite old now. But when I started, when I first was thrown to know the Rorschach was when I was undergraduate age. But I didn't like, or, that was not interested at all to me at that time. But when I get into the master's course, that was the time when I started really seriously to learn. But that was a very hard, and the teacher was very good teacher, but very strict. And I was feeling whether this is really good for me or whether I am good enough. And I had lots of doubts about myself. But after 2 years, very fortunate experience. 1981, I first visited the United States and participate the 10th ISR Congress. And there I met John Exner. And I knew him through the textbook, and I was deeply impressed by, for example, egocentricity index and the other things that he created. And it was like a dream to me at that time to see the real person of the John Exner. And what was more was that the students or the colleagues around John Exner, to my eye, they were doing researches and presentations with a very vivid and very enthusiastic way. And compared to myself back in Japan, I was very shrinked student, and doubting myself whether I can write a good report from the Rorschach and so forth. I was very impressed, and I longed for the people around John Exner. How can I be like them? And why could the Rorschach become that enthusiastic and joyful practice? That was my first encounter with John Exner, and that revived and made my decision clear that I maybe not give up Rorschach, but to pursue studying Rorschach and let's try make the Rorschach as enthusiastic and joyful one as I saw in the United States. That was it.
Listening to you, how nice it is to hear that more than 30 years ago, there was this real enthusiasm and this real wish to do the projective techniques, to continue with them, to have research around John Exner. So it's really so nice to hear, because now we are just trying to continue that tradition, and we are just trying to work together around this incredible test. And you just met many years ago with the same strength of enthusiasm and with the same strength of wish to continue your degree or your practice. So it is really nice to hear that much long history.
Thank you. Yes.
And then I guess you just continued your journey. And when did you meet with the society in terms of more formal ways? I mean, how you entered the International Society, or just you established your society first? How was that part?
Okay. I think I need to explain to you and people that fortunately, Japan is the country where there are many Rorschachers. The Japanese, I think, love Rorschach very much. And as a fact that Rorschach plates 10 cards was already here in Japan, maybe a couple of years, maybe 3 years after the publication of the psychodiagnostics it was published in Germany. But at that time, Japan and Germany had a very strong, connection among the medical field. And fortunately, the 10 cards was imported in the context of medicine. And one of the psychologists found the Rorschach plate and started to study it back in very early, maybe 3 years later than publication of the card. So since then, I appreciate really the ancestors of the the psychologist who took care of the Rorschach very carefully and put this as a very high priority or status. So since then, here in Japan, I think we kind of respect Rorschach, or many psychologists, of course not all, but that's the reason why we have a kind of a rich soil for the Rorschach to grow here. So that's one thing. It's not that I did that. The situation was already there. And after I returned back from 10th ISR Congress, I asked my colleagues to create a study group to study the comprehensive system. And that core member, 5 or 6 members, became really liked the comprehensive system as well. And we decided to invite John Exner, and he was very happy to come over to Japan, I think 4 times before he died. So we were lucky to have him here to learn directly, and we open our eyes through John Exner and how it is important to do some assessment before starting the therapy. So I think I was lucky, Japan was lucky, and our colleagues of the society was very lucky. I was one of the founding member of the Japan Rorschach Society for Comprehensive System, and it was the year 1993. We joined ISR, but that year was the year John Exner started his presidency of the ISR. So he helped us out a lot.
You were really lucky meeting him and hosting him there. But also, I guess the most important thing was that you could locate Rorschach and the projective methods into the therapeutic process. Now we are just talking between members, between the societies. So it's really hard for the societies to accept sometimes Rorschach directly into the therapeutic process. Now we are telling that it's just like a tradition, it's just like a must, so that people like Rorschach and they believe in Rorschach. It's really sometimes difficult for the others to convince that Rorschach is very important in the therapeutic process. Yes, it was also right in our country too, so we had to work very much for that.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And then most probably you had close connections with the International Rorschach Society through Exner when he became the president. So how did you take part within the society afterwards, International Society?
Yes, I was just an individual member at the beginning, but later on, I think I intuitively knew that joining to the International Rorschach Society will teach me a lot. It was a wonderful experience that all the members know about the Rorschach, and we talk about Rorschach. And for example, if you go to some other international psychological gathering, they speak, they talk about their specialties. But we talk only about Tenkards, and that was really something. And even we we speak originally different language, even each of us live in different countries. It was a very striking experience. We can understand each other from these 10 cards about the psyche of the person. How can I understand, for example, the women from Turkey, or couple how they communicate, the Turkish couple? How can I understand without knowing the language and culture? But if Irem, you gave me the protocol of the individual women from Turkey or the couple of the Turkish, couple, I think from my point of view, I can contribute something, although I am outsider. And through the data, how it is important, through the data we can communicate and we can talk about the psyche, something that is not available to really grasp with our hands or see it as a visible thing. So the reason I cannot stop loving Rorschach or stop doing Rorschach in my practice is because individual person is different, and we cannot see the psyche or the inside psychology of these different people. We specialists think or try to understand as much as possible, but this is very difficult to understand only through the languages or through listening what they say. But if we have the data, a visible thing, and that can be visible to me, but that data can be visible to the client, and we can share that data. That made me really productive, or the safety network of my therapy.
I'm sure most of our
So now
listeners...
I cannot...
Sorry? I really was excited to hear all these, because I'm sure most of our listeners know our material at hand, that it is very rich, very valuable. But pointing to this, how integrative Rorschach is, how Rorschach collects people around itself, is really very, very significant, because, as you said, it's incredible to be able to speak the same language, even though there are different interpretations, but it's really possible to talk about the same thing in all environments. So really, it's a very, very valuable tool, and sharing some part, only a little part of your experiences. I am younger at the society, really being truly in the society, either as a member of the national group or the international group. It's really very, very valuable to be able to reach this much rich material. The research, the projects, the cases, they really teach a lot in all areas, not just Rorschach and interpretation of Rorschach. I have learned a lot from all schools of thought, from all countries, or all thoughts, in order to enrich my practice, both in the Rorschach and both in the clinical field. And I guess for all of us, most of the time, it is important that we are clinical psychologists, and we are trying to do our best to help clients in their psychotherapeutic processes. And I guess this is also a very important part of you that I know personally, that you really give a lot of weight to those practices also. How do you work? Maybe people don't know that side about you. I will just return back to your presidency. But when you say that Rorschach is something that helps you, that teaches you, maybe you can tell us something about your journey as a psychotherapist, with whom you work, how you work.
Thank you. As I briefly look back and share with you how I encountered Rorschach, and at that time, very early my 20s, I didn't know who I am, and I was not sure how I could be a good therapist or a good psychologist. Compared to that time, thanks to this Rorschach, somehow I started to learn Rorschach when I entered the master course. That became all through a kind of, how do you say, the strength as the major rope or major lifeline all through until today. And then the reason why the Rorschach became my lifeline as a professional is because in between maybe early 30s, I found out making the invisible visible was the key for me. Because when I think of doing therapy is hearing some clients, hearing up what the client says. But psychology itself is a very vague profession, I think, because if the dentist has to do with this teeth, but us, what are we do? Where is the psychology? We can't see where, or we can't exactly pinpoint this is it. So I think the Rorschach, or even the ways or other tests. Now I do not only Rorschach, I do, as many of you do, I do multiple assessment. But by doing this with main Rorschach, with other tests, then I can make the invisible client's psychology into a visible something. And that was my became way of my practice. And I encountered Steve Finn in some point of time. I met him, and his way was exactly better formed way of what I was doing, using psychological tests as a major technique, but using the psychological tests as a major issue, and to do the therapy in a short term. And I respect him because he is very clever and intelligent to create as a format structure. I am a person who I can't do that, what he could do. I am a person who will use the Rorschach, who can do client to client, but I can't make conceptualize or to make it as a what's the word? Kind of he did what I couldn't do. That's why I since my encounter with him, with the Rorschach, not only the Rorschach, but the therapeutic assessment became really a kind of exit of my professional life journey, I think. I'm now enjoying doing therapeutic assessment because therapeutic assessment is the key tool to assist the clients transforming to what he or she wants to become. And I'm as a therapist, I define myself as a transformer. I am a person accompanying client to help client to become what he or she wants.
Really, it is now thinking about something else in my mind. Really, we have to spare some time to think about therapeutic assessment, to listen to therapeutic assessment once again from Stephen. I will just,
Yes,
yeah,
you
why
please.
not? I will just talk with the committee maybe next time in our podcasts, in our SoundCloud. We can have the opportunity to hear him. And as you said, really, Rorschach brings the invisible to visible and makes it concrete. In my practice also, when I just listen to the patients, I just carry them everywhere in my mind. But when I practice the Rorschach, I have something in my hand, so I can look over and over again. I don't have to keep my mind working over and over again and having doubts. There's no doubt on the material that I have at my hand. It's something like that.
Can I describe your experience in my way? Rorschach is I think the Rorschach is the only technique that we can get into their eyes, see the world from their eyes. Good therapist, any good therapist cannot do that because therapist is outside of the client. But when we do together the Rorschach and create the data, we become inside of their brain and see the world with full eyes. I think what you described is that me as a different person from the client, but I saw 10 cards together with the client from client's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very unique experience to us, and I believe that client needs one person, even only one person, to really understand him herself, and then that will really change something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Rorschach experience for the client, if the good Rorschacher took the Rorschach, I think that must become a very good experience for client, and that will become the basement for the good therapy. So I think maybe 20, 30 years ago, somebody who took the Rorschach was not the person to become the therapist. But now I do the Rorschach because I am the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I do the therapy with the Rorschach I took together.
Mm-hmm.
And I do often the retest to see what's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do the retest, I ask my colleague to do the test because I have already the experience, too close experience with the client. But I think psychologists, we need to consider doing that, not only the test, but doing the retest. And what I did was, how was my influence and how was the therapy influenced and how much the client changed, or, we need to make some that kind of data or proof.
While we were talking about it, I had the image of a film. It is as if we are following the screenplay of the client, and we are just watching it in a naive way. Then we are building a new screenplay together. So in order to test whether our screenplays match or something, that new film is something suitable for the client, we have to retest it.
Yes.
Some other people should watch it again.
Yes. Thank you for understanding.
And maybe we didn't spare some time talking about your presidency in the International Rorschach Society. Maybe you can just, it's a very different and a difficult experience being there, having some like 3,000 members, having the responsibility of 3,000 members. There are national societies, okay, but I know for sure it is carrying the responsibility of thousands. So you had a very nice job. You did a very nice job. I know you were so clear. You did very nice achievements, and also it was a great achievement for the Centenary Congress. Maybe you can just remind us about your position and the things you did there.
Thank you, Irem. You were with us. We were together doing the governing the ISR board, so you know me, and thank you very much. I really appreciate everybody's help. Without everybody's help, especially, of course, the board members' help, but also my society's help and all the ISR members' help. I felt a very kind and warm encouragement from all of them, and that really was the key for myself to go and keep on going, even with the COVID and postponing of the Congress and everything. I learned a lot. I really appreciate that every experience was learning. Especially International Rorschach Society is an international unit. So, everybody thinks differently. Everybody has a different value. And, I was at a loss at the beginning. How can I integrate this group of people thinking differently? But I come to enjoy the difference. I come to appreciate the difference, knowing the different values. International experience was really special, but everybody was the lover of the Rorschach, and that was a kind of broad family. I felt it was a big family with different characters, and I hope that next 100 years we'll have another new journey. And I will not be able to see 100 years later, but I really, really strongly hope this technique will survive, and somebody in many different countries will continue to investigate about the human psychology and how to help humans through some ways using this Rorschach technique.
We hope so, but I personally believe that you were one of the real architects of the centenary celebration, and really altogether we helped you also. We managed a nice celebration, and now listening to you from the very, very early experiences of you with the Rorschach. So I guess you invested a lot, and you really did what you believed in heart, because I know that it was your real inclination that we should do something very nice, something that is suitable for this valuable tool. And as far as we just know from the feedbacks, we could make a nice celebration. I call it a celebration, and I'm sure you were so proud of it, because you have such a long history, and you really paid a lot for that. You really invested a lot in terms of psychic investment. And I guess I had many new ideas about the rest. I mean, what is coming next? What should come next? And I guess our listeners also were happy to once again to hear about the importance and the use of this valuable technique. And I'm sure people were happy to hear about you, to learn about you. Thanks a lot for being with us.
Thank you.
We really thank our special guests. For us, I mean, we are the committee of the bulletin. For us, she's always special. Everyone is special. She's always special. Thanks a lot for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you too. See
Thank
you
you.
again.
See you.